After 14 years and just as many seasons, Archer has come to an end. The series' memorable characters and catchphrases made it a huge hit and opened the floodgates for an era of adult-oriented animated comedies that stepped away from The Simpsons mold. While I may have fallen off the series a while back, it's still been able to keep a strong, loyal fan base, hence the 14-year run. Weird to think that a show exists when I don't watch it. Now, since series finales have been on my mind lately, I decided to go back to the show, see how it's evolved over the years, and find out if, after all this time, they managed to stick the landing. Let's do this. Okay, Internet. If you weren't around when Archer's first few seasons were running, then let me tell you, it was huge.
Crazy.
The series combined snappy dialogue, fantastic one-liners, and catchphrases with exciting, fast-paced action sequences. The episode structure is so appealing. To put it simply, Archer and the various other agents working for ISIS, yeah, that's what they were called, go on missions while their personal drama intertwines with it. The mission's tension grows in part from the danger and in part from the personal drama that is getting in the way of getting the job done. It's classic episodic storytelling where we get the story of the week with the character plot lines slowly moving forward as an overreaching arc. Not groundbreaking in any way, but the execution was fantastic. I loved Archer in the early days. They managed to take a series of characters, almost all of them some spin on self-centered assholes, and make each of them feel unique. I often talk about how if a comedy is written properly, you can't just take one character's jokes and give them to another one because of how specific they are. And Archer nailed that pretty much from the jump. You can't just take one character's jokes and give them to another one because of how specific they are. And Archer nailed it from the jump. Then, after the first 4 seasons, Archer took a turn. Their spy agency was shut down, forcing them into a life of crime, specifically selling coke. Season 5, branded as Archer Vice, went for a more serialized style. It felt really refreshing as an audience member seeing a show reinvent itself, while still keeping its comedic core, the dynamic between the characters, fully intact. The choice to do this was made by series creator Adam Reed, and it makes sense. Up until then, Adam had written or co-written every episode of the series, something he would keep doing up until season 10, eventually stepping away from writing entirely by the 11th season. Archer Vice was a huge creative win for the series. It ended with the team being brought into the CIA, where they would be able to return to the spy game with a slightly new angle and no longer sharing the name with a terrorist group. Similarly, this season ends with an ousting from the CIA, so season 7 relocates the cast to LA, where they start to work as private investigators instead, keeping a similar structure to the prior seasons while giving it an overall refresh. This is where I fell off. Not intentionally, I didn't choose to stop watching here. I just found myself taking longer and longer to catch up to the latest episode and never even watched the 2-part finale. Crazy, because those big finales are always really fun, more risk-taking episodes in terms of story and genre and scale. So, even though the show kept going and kept reinventing, I kept falling further behind, thinking I'd eventually catch back up, but feeling more and more like I never would. Until now. The season 7 finale was a doozy. It was done because Adam Reed didn't know if they were going to be renewed or not, so it needed to work both as a cliffhanger and a finale. Killing your titular character definitely does that. Oh, and spoiler warning. This 2-parter is really good. The callbacks and catchphrases were put together very well, and in the second half, they don't waste time with the fake outs of who shot Crane. The episode strays away from the temptation of the whodunit, focusing more on the comedy of the situation with these characters. So after this, Archer did get a 3-season renewal, but instead of immediately resolving Archer being shot, Adam Reed doubled down on the way the series had been reinventing itself with the coma seasons. Season 8, the first season to be set entirely in Archer's coma dreams, is subtitled Dreamland. The 1940s setting lets them go even further into the rebranding, with the season going for a noir take on the show. This allows the writing to be pushed further creatively than ever before. The season reinterprets the characters we are familiar with in new and interesting ways, while keeping their comedic cores. Fresh, but familiar. My favorite is what they did with Cyril in this. The base of what makes him funny is here, but making him a dirty cop pushes the character into new directions. The way he banters with the others is still similar, but with new dynamics between them. You get this to a certain extent with all of the characters, but Cyril is the one that I found to be both the most pronounced and also the most interesting. And that's what we get in the follow-up seasons as well. Danger Island is the 9th season, a roguish adventure tale, and season 10, Archer 1999, goes for a retro future sci-fi adventure. Part of what I think makes these seasons land is their shorter episode counts. Tightening these seasons down gives them far more focus on the story at hand, being as it is contained to one season. So after 3 very fantastical seasons, where can they go next? Where do they go next? Back to spy shit, of course. At this point, Adam Reed has completed his transition out of writing the show. Archer, 1999, had the first handful of episodes that he didn't have writing credits on, and now in season 11, he's stepped down from that completely, but he still voices the hell out of Ray. A smart move to coincide his departure with the return to the original premise. The show moved away from there because he personally was no longer interested in writing it that way. The last thing you want from a show is to feel creatively uninspired, and having new writers is a way to help deal with that. Personally, I think if they didn't do this, season 11 would have been the last one. Hell, it might have ended with Archer 1999, wrapping that season up with the part where Archer is waking up. I think that these episodes are all pretty good. Nothing will, to me, hold a candle to those first 3 seasons or so, but I know fully well that that is at least partially my nostalgia. Also, it's worth noting that even though the show still works post-Mallory, there is a hole that they never fill and couldn't fill. Jessica Walter was a wonderful performer, and she is absolutely missed, unreplaceable. I'm glad they don't even try to, but you can't act like things don't feel different without her. Over the next few seasons, new cast members join in recurring and principal roles, creating new dynamics with the classic characters. It's weird calling Archer characters classic, but after 14 years, they kind of are. I don't know how audience members reacted to the addition of new main cast at the time, because like I said, I had fallen off, and I don't feel like putting myself through looking it up, because I know there will be some people that have been very vocally upset, but I hope the new characters overall were well received. They find good places to insert new characters, so that way they don't feel like they are stepping on another character's toes. I mean, unless they're supposed to, of course. And now, here we are, ready for one last adventure with Archer and the gang. Let's take a trip into the cold. I do like that they made the finale a huge event episode. It took what many seasons in the past had done with big 2-part adventures and took it up another notch. If you were to base the finale's success off of the series' 2 major elements, the tight character writing driven by fast back and forths and quips, as well as the exciting action sequences, then this passes the test easily. But there is more to discuss in that. Bringing back both Katya and Slater was a lot of fun here, and teaming them up was a really interesting move that I honestly didn't see coming. I think the return of Katya was my favorite. I was really excited when I saw that she was in the trailer, because she really did feel like a fan favorite coming back from the early days. I don't know if she's a big fan favorite, but I always thought she was great, and the people I'd talked to the show about all really enjoyed her too, so that's always been my view. Wrapping things up between her, Archer, and Barry in a way that only this show really could did feel like they were bringing the series to a close beyond the rest of the major points, because this has existed since the early seasons. We end with the agency disbanding, no longer able to do spy work. It feels like a proper end of an era closing. We also find out that Archer is doing unsanctioned spy shit, so we get our protagonist living the only life he knows, and I absolutely love the Archer-Pam teaming up bit at the end, because it really reminds you that they have grown together so much as friends over the course of the series. And it keeps the door open for more specials in the future, if they were to choose to. But even if they never do, This wraps up the story nicely, and in the end, what else can we hope for? Let me know in the comments what you thought. Like, subscribe, and until next time, have a good one.